Welcome, Incubator's Couch fam. We're so excited for this particular episode.
Yes, we are.
And we want to say a word of welcome to the podcast team as well. Go Podcast. Thank you so much for rocking with us. Season 1, Season 2 is well underway. And we're excited to have our guest with us today. And I'm going to let Kanique introduce him.
Yes, we have today Corian Moore with the Gumbo Network. He is like one of us.
Come on.
He's in the same industry,
Yeah.
media, photography, videography. He does all of the above. So we're just happy to have you on the show with us today.
Thanks for having me.
And we are looking forward to what you're going
Gonna
to tell
share.
us, what you're going to share today. I'm excited for it. So,
Man,
welcome.
listen.
The pressure's on.
Listen, you guys can see his handle on screen, and even though you can see that, and the link will be in the description, both on YouTube and for our podcast listeners. But don't go right away.
Yeah,
Stay
don't
with
run
us,
off,
hang
yeah.
out with us right now, and then
with
check him
us.
out. But I guarantee you're going to want to check him out, and check him out on the different social media platforms that he's in. But Corian, take a few minutes, share with us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the Gumbo Network.
Yeah, and elaborate on that name, man. The Gumbo Network. I love that name.
I
Makes
like
me
the
think
name
about
as well.
food,
Yes.
but, you know, the
Always,
network.
yes.
So
Yes.
Always, yes. So I'm Corian Moore. I'm marketing and branding consultant with the Gumbo Network.
Nice.
I've been in the industry, I'll say probably about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
You know what I
okay.
mean? Doing photography, all at about 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
The Gumbo Network, like you say, the gumbo. You know what I
Gumbo,
mean?
man.
You know, if you do a lot of things, you're offering a lot of stuff.
yeah.
You're putting everything in
In
the
there.
pot so that you can make something beautiful.
I know, I love it.
I
Making
love
that
it. That's
gumbo
all
awesome.
works
Oh, yeah.
together. It
Oh,
all
yes.
works
It
together.
always has to.
I love it.
And it's, of course, the network.
Network.
You know what
Right.
I mean? Having people in the network
Yeah.
as well as in
Yes.
the pot. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
True.
yeah.
Because we have actually worked on projects together and we've heard clients back and
forth.
forth.
Yep.
And
Yep.
they do amazing work. So
That's the gold standard, y'all. When somebody can say of another creative, another person in their same industry, like, no, they do good work. That's the
they
gold
do.
standard. So
That's-
we're excited, man. We're excited to have you with us today. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I really appreciate you. You know what I mean? I always say, I always want to come through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Always
Make
want to come
people
through.
feel,
Yeah.
make people feel like they hit the lick when they came across you. You know what I mean? So
That's it right there.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do.
That's
So
good.
that's always great to hear.
Cool.
And the same, you know what I mean?
Thank
I can't
you.
send people, refer good work. You know what I mean? You gotta refer good people.
That's
you know what I mean?
true.
Because those are the currency. You know.
Yeah.
That's the currency.
That's
I
the
love how you said that.
currency.
That's
Yes.
currency. I hope you guys are picking it up
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
people.
Man, I know we're going to dive into a story in just a second here, but I wanted to kind of get a little more. So how did the Gumbo Network kind of begin? What was the how did we get to Gumbo Network, right? Because I mean, it sounds like you're mixing up a number of
Yes.
things. If I'm understanding it correctly.
Oh yeah,
But
well,
yeah.
the founding fathers, I'll say, of the Gumbo Network. There's a trio of us.
Okay,
and,
okay.
all of us kind of had our own flavor, our own
Right,
style. You
right.
know what I mean? But we all kind of had the same interest at the time.
Right.
Was to create content.
Right.
It was a
Yeah.
YouTube channel at
Oh,
first.
cool.
So
Okay.
we wanted to do some podcasting. We was gonna create all these sketches and skits and stuff, and just. It ran right into like the pandemic, so it was just kind of
Yeah.
like
Okay.
the timing of it is just
Yeah.
kind of weird or whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so, but like I said, in the pandemic, it kind of allowed me the chance to take the brand on and evolve it into something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Got out of school, so I got
Yeah.
into marketing,
Yeah, that's awesome.
the phone just keep going every
It's
time.
all good.
Oh, it's all
man.
good.
I'm sorry. But yeah, so I got into marketing and branding and helping people with their business and getting
So it
you
kinda-
know get,
yeah.
cool.
yeah, so it
Yeah.
evolved into something else. And at this point, we're all the way to doing business ops development. So we want to be
love
able to
that.
help businesses, become organized, create workflows, create task managers,
Yes.
That's
as well as
good.
getting people like incorporated.
Incorporated, right.
You know
Okay,
what I
dope.
mean? So helping you with the paperwork,
Yeah.
getting right, and be on top of it as you can
Yeah,
as
as
a
you
business
can,
professional.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay,
That's so
cool.
good. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of resources here in the Gumbo Network, but I think there's something to be said for having the wraparound
Wraparound
services
services,
for
yep.
for small businesses and really being laser focused on who it is you serve and making sure that when they come to you, even if it's not in your bag,
Yeah.
all right, not in
yeah.
your expertise, you have a resource that you can be like, no, don't go nowhere. I got somebody right
That's
here,
only
Yeah.
for that.
and
that-
boom.
And that's where that network
That's
comes
what-
in.
that's perfect.
And you got to be real with yourself,
Yeah.
real with your skills,
Yep, I totally
real
agree.
with
Yep.
you know what can you
Know what
actually
you-
bring,
Right.
And
How much time you got? I mean, good night.
hey, how much time do you really have?
No,
You know
really.
what I mean? Because stuff can get work can get piled up,
Yes.
and
Some stuff you gotta outsource.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Outsource it.
Got to make sure everybody can be
And when you outsource it, you want to make sure that there's not a
Yeah,
a
not a
massive
different
drop off.
quality.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, oh yeah.
Quality.
So
That'd
definitely, hey, something I learned from y'all, you know, from watching, you know, your podcast.
Oh,
and stuff,
cool.
and, you know, and that was a great gem I
Yeah.
got was, you know, the people that you refer. Make sure you vet your referral
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
that's
that-
so good, man.
Oh, yeah, and-
you don't want to hand off a clientzilla.
terrible client.
No,
No.
never
No.
want to do that. Well, man, listen, as we like to say here, we've kind of now we know
We
you.
are, yeah.
You know, now we know you. We feel like we're comfortable,
And
and
we're
we're
on
on
the
the couch. We're see.
We are on
We-
the couch.
The couch.
So.
I need
We're
to
on the
lean
couch.
back.
Yeah, let's get in. We're ready for some therapy. So, yeah, man, talk to us about one of these experiences that you want to share with us, and let's see what we can learn from it together.
Okay. Well, okay, I got a perfect one. So when we got to the point where I'm like, I can do a website for someone, I can create you a logo, get your business cards, your forms, the beginnings of, being able to stand up somebody, give them that look
right,
to
right,
us,
right.
You know what I mean? And, I had a client, had a nice boutique, you know what I mean? Some quality products and stuff, but she needed way more than anticipated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Didn't really exactly know where she wanted to go.
Oh.
And I was
That's
just
tough.
kind of forcing what I can do on to her.
Yeah,
You
that's
know
not
what I mean?
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Instead
yeah.
of like really listening to what she needed
Yeah.
and really listening to what she could afford.
Ooh.
That kind of stuff
Key.
too.
What can
Yeah.
you afford?
You know what I mean? So just kind of rushing into the business and not realizing, sometimes you need to take that step back.
True.
Ask more questions
Right.
and
Yes.
listen more. You know what I mean? And then also, I was coming from a place of desperation too. You know what I mean? Like
that's
I needed this business.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like to really survive. So I found
It
myself,
gets real. It gets real.
just kind of in a kerfuffle.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
You
But
find
I was
yourself
gonna say
into a like almost like a loop, like you're stuck,
Yeah.
right?
So it's just like I want to do all of this stuff for you. Then you're realizing that the client isn't.
They're not quite ready for all that.
Yeah, but I really still need the business.
Yeah,
So I'm still
yeah.
like,
Like, well,
You're pushing a little bit.
Yeah, more than I
Okay.
should have. And, forcing that business, it taught me a lot of lessons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All in one instance. And, we still ended up doing the business, but you just don't want it to be that painful.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
You don't want it to have to drag out for so long.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
don't want to have to.
It's like you're pushing so much, and the client is like not doing their part as much.
Yeah.
But
You end up
I
doing more
also-
than you should be doing.
And that's a phenomenal point. But I also hear you saying, from your own perspective, you needed to be. They were saying some stuff, but you weren't necessarily hearing all
Hearing
of
what
it.
they were
Yeah.
saying.
And especially, I think this one part is gold. If you didn't catch this part, you need to, especially when it pertains to what they can afford.
Yeah.
When a
Yeah.
client,
That's true.
you gotta look for the non-verbal responses. When I share with a client, okay, well, oh yeah, well it's $250 an hour for this, and so it looks like you got 10 hours,
And if their face is
they're
like-
kind of like. That's all that I needed to know that. Not because I'm not gonna, I'm gonna change my price or anything like that. But now I
You know how to move going
yeah,
forward.
like even I was saying to Kanique the other day, I was like, yeah, I have to send this guy a quote. I don't really want to send it to him because I already know he's not going to do it. It's just
Yeah.
those verbal cues during the discovery call kind of let me know that
Not quite
Yeah.
there
I
yet.
still got to follow through because that's what you got to do, right? This is the business that we're in. You got to send the person an estimate or a quote in
you
order to
do.
get the
Yeah.
business. But man, I already knew that this dude, because
not
just the
gonna
way
happen.
he responded.
And see, kudos to you for standing on business.
Yeah, yeah.
Standing on your price, standing on the value of your work. Because, like I say, being in a desperate situation,
Yeah.
you're gonna take like the you only got what 300.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
do
take
it.
that. Yeah, I get
go
it.
there and take it now, but now you like overworking yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that job got in the way of another job. You know what I mean? It just
Wow.
it just became a mess, and it
Yeah.
was just like.
Yeah.
And I'm always really hard on myself, so I'm always gonna take the pressure and be like, well, it was on me. I should have did X, Y, Z, and not really put it on the client. But at the same time, you gotta know the client, like I say, asking more questions, knowing what they want, what were they even looking to do? You know what I mean?
True.
And I think we had somebody else on last season that kind of talked about, recognizing what goes well with what. So even for you, I never thought through, because as you said it, like, all right, we got the business card, standing up a new business. You got the business card, you got the logo, you got the website, all the different things. But some people aren't necessarily ready for the full package.
All of that.
So, some of them, and people, I can't tell you how many businesses out there don't realize that you need a logo. You got to have a logo.
I mean,
you come into the web.
That's your brand.
Is the introduction for, the customer seeing you in the market. You know what I mean? It's the first thing that they see, the first perception that they're going to have of you and your business.
Exactly.
So,
and I think that's like the building block for us to then build off of, because I build off of the logo.
Yeah,
and there's so many other things that build off of the logo.
Because a lot of times when they come to me, not even for when you're doing the website, I could kind of understand if you don't have a logo, because you're standing up the business. But when you come to me, you want to do a live stream, you want to do a video project, and I'm like, all right, bet, send me your logo, and you're like,
And it's not just the logo; it's the branding guide. Because some people they have a logo, but they don't have a branding guide. And I'm like, so how am I going to get these hex codes? I'm gonna have to use Photoshop to go and
oh Lord.
And see, and that's another layer of the business that we wanted to make sure that the sauce, that roux and that gumbo, it always comes full circle. We want to make sure that when we work with other people, that they're gonna remember the experience. They're like, you know what, the Gumbo Network, they were on point.
They gave me everything I needed.
That's really dope. I didn't think about it from that perspective.
Yeah.
Because when you set somebody up and then they go to somebody like me and they hand me their stuff, I'm looking like,
this
man,
is
who
proper.
set you up? I went to the Gumbo Network. Man, this is proper.
This is what I
And
need.
I have done that with a client. They're from another state, but I did that with a client recently because they sent me their branding guide, and I was just like,
who created
thank
this?
you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, that's like one of those, back end essentials, you know what I mean? That when you're in the industry and the more you learn, the more you know.
And it's so good from both sides, right? From the client's perspective, recognizing that these are some of the needs. And also just recognizing in business, you have a specific expertise, right? Let's say you're a counselor. And you're a counselor that deals with, let's say, adolescent males, right? Very specific. And you have expertise where that's concerned. Like, you know how to get them across the line, how to get them motivated, all that good stuff. So that's your expertise. Now, how do you stand that up as a business? Because there's so much around that skill set that creates the business. You got to have accounts receivable. You got to be able to invoice. You got to be able to set appointments. You got to be able to, where are you going to do the counseling? Is it going to be virtual? You got to do all these things to stand up the business. And you need to give yourself grace to recognize, I'm not an expert in all these things. This is my one area of expertise. But the thing that I love is if you focus on your area of expertise, that will fund all of the other pieces. That'll pay for the Gumbo Network to come in and do their good work. That'll pay for the website. That'll pay for the live stream. If you focus on what you do best, it will spill over into all these other areas.
That's a good note for clients. Listen to that.
And that's a testament to myself, somebody that I can be good at so many things. A jack of all trades, but a master of none. And I had to reel myself in
a little bit.
You know what I mean? Like, and realize that you can't do everything.
No.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Some stuff you're going to have to just, not accept defeat. I
No,
never accept defeat.
No.
But I realize when I need to pivot. You know what I mean? And realize when I need help, when I need to lean on another resource and stuff.
That's good. You have to be able to know those things about yourself in business and be very honest with yourself as well. But I'm also a big proponent of giving yourself grace. I think a lot of people get out there and say, man, I messed this up, man. And that negative self-talk turns into like a boulder, right? A snowball, I should say. It just gets bigger and bigger. And that's why businesses fail, because it's like, wow, I messed that up. That wasn't for me. No, we all messed it up, actually. You just didn't know because you're catching me at this phase, right? Where are we at? 14 years in now? So you're catching us at 14 years.
And that's a great part of networking. You know what I mean? Talking to other business professionals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listening to people's story, you know what I mean? And realizing that they didn't just do it overnight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nope.
Knowing that it's a marathon and not a sprint, you know what I mean? And that's why I had, like, last year was my time to take a step back and let's learn, let's get automated.
Yeah. I like that.
Create our own workflow processes, create, back end structure so that we can handle things coming in the future.
I love it.
So that we can bring on bigger projects in the future, bring
take
in
advantage.
people.
Self-evaluation.
You know what I mean?
And,
So you got to take a step back and plan and really learn. Because I'm really all about execution, but sometimes I can get ahead of myself.
Yeah.
And want to go and do all these things, and then you kind of have to take a step back, like, okay.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
What am I doing right now?
I'm just
Okay.
doing
You're
stuff,
doing too
but
much.
I'm not like, am I building towards something? So
Yeah, having a true north, having that compass set in a direction that, and then methodically step your way through towards that goal.
Yes.
That's critical.
Oh yeah,
Man, there's a lot here, man.
We eating good, y'all.
No, we eating good.
You better hop in the pot.
Yeah, come on,
You better hop
come
in the pot. Bring your flavor.
Oh my goodness, I love this name, man. The Gumbo Network.
Me too.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, it's always a conversation starter.
Yeah.
It's a great icebreaker.
There it
When
is.
people hear it, they're like,
The
what's the Gumbo
gumbo.
Network?
I
You know
like
what I
that.
mean? And we do get synonymous with food.
Food,
and-
of course.
But it is all about, just substance for
Yeah.
the soul, substance
Yeah.
for the healing, all
I
of
like
that. You know what I
that.
mean?
I
love
like
it.
that.
Hey, I can go all day with
Listen,
Gumbo.
I
I can
love
go
it.
all day with Gumbo
Listen,
stuff.
you
Come
don't
on.
have to. Listen, that right there, that's so good. Pick a name. That's a whole other.
I love it.
Oh,
Pick
yeah,
a
that's part
good
of
business name. So a conversation starter is a networking starter.
Yes, it
That's
is.
a launch pad into so many different things. I was saying this to some colleagues recently. I was like, every time I go to a networking event here locally, one of the icebreaker questions that they always ask is, where did you move to Huntsville from? Because Huntsville is a very transient city. A lot of people are transplanted here from, FBI, government, contractors, all this other stuff, NASA. And then they'll ask, of course, we'll go around the table, Kanique knows where I'm going with this, and then they'll say to me, where did you move to Huntsville from? And we say, South Africa. Usually when we say that, the conversation
They're
stops.
like, how?
What?
How?
What? You were?
Why?
And you're American? Yeah. So carry
did
the
that
two.
happen?
Like, what? How did that happen? And it becomes this whole conversation. And those conversations, I cannot tell you how many times they lead into, what type of business do you do?
Oh yeah.
People are so much more open and ready to have a business conversation once they know a little bit about you personally.
That's
as
true.
well.
And
that business name is an entering wedge,
yes,
as
it
they say.
is.
So that's dope.
You gotta disarm people.
Yeah.
Because
Come
even
with
in
the walls
those,
up.
in those networking spaces,
They come
everybody
up
have
with
their
the
walls
walls up.
up.
They're
They come
like-
with their
Yep.
business.
Yep.
Here's my card.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But like,
You're so right, though.
Once you get to talking to people, you start.
Yeah, it starts to bring down those
Yeah.
walls.
Oh, yeah.
They're willing to open up more and talk.
That is
so.
crazy. That is crazy.
That's how I met these.
I know.
Oh,
At the
we did meet
networking
him.
joint.
I just
At
totally
the-
forgot. We met in a
Trash
networking
Panda
joint.
networking joint.
Trash Pandas is the local baseball team here in Huntsville. But man, listen. So I heard you say a number of things that you pulled out of the story that you learned and kind of incorporated into your business going forward. But if there was like one specific thing you could share with the audience from this particular story, is like, bam, make sure you do this. What would be that one thing, that major takeaway from this particular experience that you want to make sure you double click on and let the audience know? Yeah, keep this in mind.
I'll say just make it about the client. You know what I mean? Always talking to the client.
Yeah.
Asking them more questions. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? The more you get into their head, the more you can execute their vision.
I love that.
That's
Because it's
true.
not necessarily,
that.
of course, you want to create great things, but if you're not pleasing with their, what they want, what they need, you know what I mean? Then what are you doing?
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's
true.
good.
Because
That's good.
sometimes your professional opinion, you know what
It's
I mean?
your first-
It's
it's-
just that.
It's
your
just
opinion.
that. It's
just
your
your
opinion.
opinion.
Oh
Just
my.
because you think like, okay, well, this color scheme will look a little bit better. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They be like, well,
Woof.
my grandfather died in this color scheme, so I want this. You know what I mean? So it's like,
you're
hey, well,
whoa, let me-
I'm actually dealing with a client like that right now.
Okay.
So that is, I like
Good-
that.
good
nugget.
advice.
That's good advice.
Yeah,
That's good
yeah,
advice.
that's good advice.
just listen to the client.
I love it. I think one of the things I heard in the story for me was, ensuring that there is a finish line, right? Ensuring that when you have a client that has a vision in mind, so fully fleshing that out and asking questions and maybe even repeating it back to them so that there is a, that they recognize that you get it. I had that with a client once where I was like, so what you're trying to do is da 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 da, and then she was like, oh yes, that's it.
Oh yeah.
And so now all I had to do was figure out how to get to that, because unfortunately, especially with anything design related, even for me with videos and podcasts, I don't really want the show to be, I don't like my intro music, I want it differently. It's like, oh Lord. But with those kinds of things that are very, subjective, it's personal preference.
Yeah.
To get to the finish line, you really need to understand what is this person trying to achieve.
You do.
And I love that aspect of the story. I'm definitely gonna make note of that as well.
And then you have to realize that sometimes they might not be wrong.
That's it.
That's
true.
If
they put their sauce on it, and you was like, okay, I'm gonna put it together for you. We put it together nice and make sure it's quality, and then you realize, you revisit their site, or you come back and see their analytics, like, damn, like
this actually did.
Yeah, they might be.
That's
good. That is good.
So we have to be open-minded to that as well.
Yeah.
Don't just hammer your thing to the client. Like really be open to it. You never know.
Industry standards. It's like, well, no, you don't put that color with this color, and you're like, and then they're like, oh, hold up now.
It could work.
That is so good. There's a lot here, fam. Listen, we want you to take a second and just share anything that you got going on in with the Gumbo Network. Anything that's coming up down the line that people might be able to kind of take advantage of. Maybe even if you have a deal for like the Incubator's Couch fam, right? That might want to come through and get a consult session. Just share with us a little bit of that kind of information.
Everything is at the Gumbo Network. You can always reach us, websites, on all socials, LinkedIn, whatever. But the main thing for this year is exposure.
Okay,
you know what I mean? More exposure for the Gumbo Network. You know what I mean? Like I said, last year I took a step back. This year, we stepping out into the light.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We're going after going after some new business. Kind of working into another demographic of business and stuff. So
dope.
Love it.
I love it.
I'm ready to see more.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Man, we can't thank you enough for coming through and hanging out with us today. This has been awesome. I think we landed on sometimes the client is actually right.
That's true.
That's not a bad idea.
Hey, it's not.
And that's the name of the podcast.
And that's the name of the podcast.
Hey, well, thanks to y'all for having me.
For sure.
Hey, y'all eat
Thanks
good
for
too.
coming through.
Good. We all ate good.
We ate good.
Oh, yeah.